kind of like go into like the job and all of that, I get that, in terms of where you guys are at in, like in high school and trying to understand like where you want to go with your career. I would kind of just start off by saying that, I didn't know at all that I wanted to do investment banking when I was your age. Like I didn't even know until like junior year of college. It took me some time to figure it out. And when I was applying for colleges, I was just kind of thinking about what kind of skills I was good at, what I liked doing. And I was pretty good at math, pretty bad at like the arts and science. So I decided to study business, and then it was through kind of like my classwork and also through internships where I kind of learned what I liked and I didn't like. So I would also just kind of preface that, like, don't expect to know exactly what you want to do at this age. Most people don't, and it just kind of takes time and experience to figure it out. And that's definitely been kind of the case for myself. So yeah, I can kind of talk a little bit about what I do. So my role and my title is I work in investment banking. I'm an associate at a Japanese global bank called Nomura. Previously, I worked at like a Canadian bank called Scotiabank, but the job that we do at different banks is pretty much the same. So and I'm really happy to kind of talk about investment banking because I know it's hard. There's like a lot of glamour around finance and like pop culture and like movies, and it doesn't actually really tell you what you're doing, and it's not even really that realistic a picture of it. It definitely kind of like over glamorizes it, but definitely over glamorizes it. So and it's not a very transparent industry. It's a small industry. So even though there's a lot of like, hype about it, I would say probably most people wouldn't know what it is. And I would say that's because if you think about it, people like you and I, like, maybe your parents, maybe not yourselves, but we all have like bank accounts, right? Like we need to use the bank to do all of our banking services. So, when you go to Bank of America, you go to Chase, like that's retail banking. So that's, the banking that we as consumers interface with. So if you take that sort of parallel, what investment banking is that kind of banking, but for companies. So the reason why you and I would not know much about investment banking is because it's not for you. It's for like, we don't work with individuals, we work with companies. So what we do is we help corporate clients, let's say like PepsiCo, or like we can even work with like TI, or you work with like Amazon, and you're working with companies to understand their banking needs and like all of their needs. And because they're an organization, they have a lot more needs than individuals. So like they need to get debt, kind of common to people as well. They need to get debt, they need to get equity, they need just like different products to help them manage their risk. And then probably the most interesting part is helping them do deals. So that'll be my particular role is within mergers and acquisitions. So we'll help companies if they're interested in buying another company, or if they're interested in selling themselves. So really, our business is an advisory business. Like we do a lot of analysis, but at the end of the day, our role and our job is client service. So we help our clients with what they need, and that's kind of our responsibility. And yeah, so
hold on, Jennifer. So which bank are you working for now?
It's called Nomura. It's a Japanese global bank.
Oh, so you're working for a Japanese bank now?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean they have operations. It's a global bank, so they have locations and offices all around the world, in Europe, in Asia, obviously, in America, in Latin America. But our strongest geographies are in Japan and the US, because the US is a huge market.
So how big is the office in New York?
Oh, that's a good question. I should know the answer to that, but definitely we like many hundreds of people. So the thing is, like, because we're a large organization, so like within a bank, within a global investment bank, there's people like me, who work in investment banking, but then you have people who are like in trading and operations and IT, all sorts of different roles. So there's a bunch of people.
Oh, okay, okay, good. So
Yeah.
this bank is so-called the investment bank.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
we'll have like different, we'll have, actually, I'm not sure if we have retail bank. I think we have retail banking operations like in, uh, in Japan, but not here.
Oh,
So, so kind of like everyone, like I guess people know about Goldman Sachs, but like you as an individual, like can't get an account with Goldman Sachs because they don't do retail banking.
oh, that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay. So
Um,
basically, banking have two different kinds. One's called the corporate banking, one's called the retail
yeah,
banking.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
exactly. So you have like consumer and retail banking, which is, basically facing individuals and, like the regular person. And then there's also, like kind of an in between where like maybe you're like a small business. Those might go to like that goes to more like merchant banking or stuff like that. And then like we serve like really large global corporate clients
Mm,
with like huge needs. So like I'm working with like large multinational organizations. Like clients will be like I said, like Pepsi, like Amazon, like Apple, like really big, but also smaller companies as well that you've probably never heard of either. So, and then
awesome.
in investment banking, you typically work in a sector. I happen to work in a group that covers all sectors, but typically you'll work in a sector. So maybe you'll work in like the healthcare team. So you basically just cover companies in your sector. Maybe if you work in like the industrials team, you'll just cover industrial companies. So that's kind of how it's usually organized. So the good thing about, even though like banking is a financial role, there's still you still have to find a sector that you enjoy working in and find interesting. And there's different skill sets for each kind of like for each industry, but it can all be learned.
So your deposit so that your asset or deposit all come from a big corporate.
Yeah, so it's a
So
little bit different. Like we're not holding so investment banking is more, so it's the advisory service. So we're not providing like the actual, like companies like have their own like they do have like their own accounts where they're
okay,
like
sure.
borrowing money, but we're not doing that. We're just kind of advising them on financial transactions, and kind of helping them like position themselves and helping them like raise new debt or raise new equity. We're not really custodying the cash that they like take in and out to manage their business. Like let's say they like collect cash from you as a customer for buying a product. Like we're not doing that. Like a different part of the bank is doing that. But so we do like advisory.
Awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, if
Um,
anybody have a question, you can just
yes.
type in the chat room. Okay, and then we'll bring up the question. Jennifer can answer. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I definitely want to kind of talk about like what we do, because I think it's, not always clear like what like people kind of like talk about like, okay, like you worked on a deal or like you worked on a merger. It's like, what does that involve? So there's a lot of work that goes into it. Deals kind of take at least 9 to 12 months from start to finish. It's a long process of preparation, going out into the market as well as closing, and regulatory factors. It can be a little shorter if you work on a different type of project, but I guess like I would say the three main responsibilities in investment banking would kind of be to like help companies like either raise debt, equity, or like do deals, mergers and acquisitions. So those are kind of the main three things we're helping them think about and advise, and we do a lot of analysis around that. And yeah, so I guess like in terms of doing a deal, like you're helping a company, you learn a lot about, there's kind of two types of deals to be had. There's one situation is where a company wants to sell itself. So that's a sell side. You can kind of think of it as like, let's say you want to sell your house and you want to get the highest value for your house. You hire a realtor. That's why companies hire us. They want to get the highest value for their business, and we help them do all the works associated with it. So we help prepare materials to summarize the basically like why it's a good investment, and we send that out. Then we help them identify who are good buyers for the business. So we'll help them, and then we use our connections. Not me personally, but my senior bankers know a lot of CEOs, a lot of important people who have the money to buy these businesses, and then we kind of reach out to them and we help kind of negotiate on behalf of our clients so that they can get the best price, and we're just kind of managing like all the people. So at a high level, that's kind of like the value that we're bringing to our client. And then on the other side, if a company wants to buy another company, what we can do to help our client is we will if they don't know what kind of business they want, then we'll go out and we'll research a bunch of companies and help bring ideas to them. And then we'll make introductions and help them analyze these businesses to see how much they're worth and what they want to pay, and we just help them with that. So that's kind of like
merger and acquisitions, pretty much the top ranking banking transaction now. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like that is one of the key attractions of working in banking. Like people want to work on deals and people
That's
want
right.
to get that experience. And I'm really fortunate to do so. And it was always, a really big goal of mine. And I worked really hard to do so. And, I can kind of maybe jump ahead now quickly to kind of talk about a little bit about, how to break into the industry and like how you would get into a role like this before I go into more specifics. People may be interested in that. So yeah, I mean, to kind of start off, in terms of like maybe like academic requirements, like you don't need anything too fancy, you just need a college degree. You don't need to have majored in finance and accounting, but it obviously helps. We take people from backgrounds of engineering, data analytics, healthcare. Like let's say you have an interest in healthcare, you could do healthcare investment banking. If you have an interest in, you're an engineer in tech, you could do like technology investment banking. So there is like, you don't have to just only be interested in numbers, because at the end of the day, you're working for like companies and businesses in a sector that hopefully you enjoy. So yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest role to break into. It's quite a competitive job. So if you are interested in it, you have to be, pretty diligent and make sure kind of the best way to get a full-time role is to get an internship. And how do you get that internship? Well, you just need to, there's a very kind of strict recruiting cycle, when you interview and when you need to apply. So if you are interested, you just need to make sure you know when those are happening so you don't miss it, and that you prepare for those interviews. And definitely breaking in, it helps to know someone, just like anything. It helps to kind of find someone, a connection that who you can talk to, who can recommend you. Otherwise, there's just so many people that are interested in this kind of job with not enough, I guess like spaces, opportunities that they can kind of move you along and kind of pick you out of like all the resumes and online applications that they're getting. So definitely don't sleep on networking.
So one question. So what do you think, just for you, and make you stand out to be able to get into the M&A section? Because you go through all the interview process, they review all your resume and of course the personality, everything. But what are the specific points that stand out, get you qualified for this kind of job?
There's a bunch of different things. I mean, in terms of, I guess like for me specifically, I got really lucky and I used my internships to get into a bank, and then, I did a really good job and it built my reputation. So I actually took a non-traditional route. I never got an investment banking internship. I started off in a different job and worked my way there. I worked really hard, had a good reputation, and then my managers were basically able to recommend me to those teams, and I was able to move into those teams and kind of just like prove myself. But yeah, in terms of like, from like if you're just breaking into it, what you're expected to know is, I mean, of course, you kind of need to know the basics of finance and accounting, but it's widely understood when we kind of interview and recruit that you don't really need to know that much because most of it is taught on the job. And is most of it is taught on the job. What we're really looking for is people who have, a really good work ethic, people who have, performed well in the past, people who can multitask, because we're always working on many different things all at once. Definitely good critical thinking because in our advisory business, we're essentially helping our clients solve problems. So you need to I'm solving problems all day. You need to be able to kind of do that and to kind of think through things and solve problems. And definitely just kind of just soft skills, being able to work under pressure because it is a very demanding job. So you'll need to be able to kind of handle yourself through the stress. But I think most people here, coming from Plano, it's already a very competitive and tough place. And I'm sure you've already been doing that for all of your schedules and extracurriculars. So I'm sure you'd be able to kind of carry that into the professional world.
So what are the 3 common traits for the people working in your area, just around you?
Yeah, I mean,
gotta
I
be
think
very good school or something like that?
yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need to be interested in the financial markets to some extent. Otherwise, why would you want to do all this
That's
financial
right.
analysis? If you think it's interesting to see, how companies are valued, what impacts a business, how to grow a business, stuff like that. And then also people who like learning new things. That's kind of the main reason why I got into this job. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons why people out of college do investment banking, because you learn so much and people don't know what they want to do, but they know that if they do investment banking, they're going to learn a lot and they're going to have a lot of opportunities afterwards. And it's a very reputable kind of it's a very reputable job. So people also, so yeah, people who like to learn and people who like a challenge because it isn't the easiest job in the world. There's a lot, there's a lot of kind of complicated analysis and there's kind of, very tough timelines to me. So people who like working under pressure and also if you like working with people, we're a very team oriented job. And the work that we do, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's no way any one person could do all the work that we do. We work in a team. That's the only way you get it done. And that's the only way you also learn. You learn from people above you and you need the help, you need the support of people beneath you. And we also work with our clients. You have to be able to work with them and manage their expectations and kind of just have a good relationship with them, that they like talking to you. That's why they hire you, because they like your personality also, and that you also deliver good work. So it's definitely a very people-oriented job, on top of being a very financial driven job. So, that's kind of one of the reasons why it works really well for me, because I love the numbers, but I also love kind of being with people, and as well, we get our work done, but we always love to kind of go get coffees, have lunch when we can. We're always trying to do kind of social things afterwards if we aren't working. So there is that very kind of collegial environment where people like to interact with each other.
So most of them have a degree from a prestigious university?
Yeah, so I mean, historically, yes, banking is a very kind of investment banking is, recruits heavily from the, I guess, the Ivy Leagues. I mean, I didn't go to an Ivy League, and we do recruit from and you have to, and we do also recruit from non-Ivies as well. That it's becoming more inclusive. And I think even if you don't go to an Ivy League, it's you can still do it. It's just going to be harder. You'll have to network and you'll have to really push yourself through. And of course, it is easier if you go to Dartmouth. They already are automatically recruiting from your school, so you can just put your resume in. But there's definitely channels in which you can get in if you want to. And it's not like the only banks that exist are like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and whatever. You probably never heard of the bank that I work for. There's a lot of smaller boutique banks that hire from non-Ivies. So there's definitely that opportunity.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I will, I guess, like talk a little about kind of like the day to day and yeah, just kind of like the day to day, I guess. So, I mean, I'll start off by saying, like the job is definitely like a kind of 24/7 job because it's about client service and, whatever they need, you need to kind of provide to them. So the work-life balance can be a little challenging and the work is definitely going to change every day. And I think that's true about any job, but it'll depend on the project that you're working on. So I kind of mentioned like there's two types of deals. There's like a buy side, there's a sell side. So depending on, what type of deal you're working on, there's kind of different work required for each, which I kind of outlined. But I mean, basically like what I'm like really working on like on a day-to-day basis, like I'm working in Excel, I'm working in PowerPoint, I do financial modeling. Yeah, there's nothing fancy. It's everything that you've already seen before. There's no really other new softwares to learn, which is good because I don't know if I could. But yeah, like we do financial modeling. We help analyze different components of a business. We're looking through public filings. We're doing research on the industry that they operate in. We're looking at the peers that they have. We're putting together presentations to help kind of like summarize our findings to our client. And yeah, like we're also just doing a lot of there's also like diligence, which is just kind of like digging into a company and understanding if it's a good investment. So like seeing kind of how they manage their costs, seeing how they're dealing with problems in the world, right? Like right now with inflation, like cost is a big issue for our clients. And then also, before with the war in Ukraine and like COVID, like supply chain issues were very serious, right? So we need to kind of help we're not helping them operationally with that, but we have to understand, how that's kind of like impacting them as a business if they're, kind of doing better or worse there. So we work on a lot of valuation and understanding how much a business is worth. And we're also very growth oriented. We think about how much they can grow as well. So,
So this
yeah,
question is,
that covers it. Yeah.
how many hours do you work every day now?
It really varies, but yeah, no, I work a lot.
Like 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week?
Yeah, definitely 60. I'm usually a 12-hour day.
Wow, 12 hours a day, 7
Yeah.
days a week.
Usually yeah.
So how do they pay you? They pay you by salary or they pay you by bonus or salary
Both. So
bonus
the
and
salary, I mean, yeah, the salary, there's a base that you get just like anyone else. And then there's a bonus at year end. And it's, based on your performance as well as bank's performance. So the bank's performance, obviously, right? Like if the bank generated a lot of revenue, if it was a good year, if, we closed a lot of deals, if, we made a lot of good trades, then yeah, there's going to be more money for it to give to everyone. But if the bank didn't perform as well, there's just less money to give to everyone, even if you did a really good job. So that can be tough sometimes because you work really hard, but the performance of your organization was not stellar, but that doesn't mean you're not stellar. And just like anything in life, it's not always just like not everything is good. Like you have to kind of go weather the ups and downs. And if you think that like the grass isn't always greener on the other side, where like if you think like okay, like it was bad this year, I'm going to go somewhere else, like you know what I mean, like it's not always good everywhere. Like it's yeah,
so
like
you
some
have
it's
to like I'm in the high-tech business, Sarah, and
mhm.
semiconductor business. And from like a person like you working the merger and acquisition in the semiconductor business, how can you convince the person like me with a lot of background that you really know this business? So look like
That
you have to study very hard and pick up very quick.
right. So in terms of, so I guess I kind of like I would also state that investment banking is a pretty hierarchical job. So it's a very top to bottom organization. Like as an analyst, you have your role. As an associate, I have my role. VPs have their role, and then directors have their role, and then managing directors have their role. So, as an associate, I'm not responsible for convincing I'm not responsible for convincing the company to hire us. That's my MD's job. So he's like, so when you're at the bottom, which is a terrible way to say it, but when you're more junior, you are more responsible for kind of like the day-to-day execution and like analysis, and like you're kind of more like analytical. But if you're really interested in banking, at the end of the day, when you move along, when you move up in your career, you're becoming a salesperson. You are trying to win
That's true.
business, and you are, building relationships with people in the industry. And you have to, and this is just kind of true with, I think, any role. Like you have to, right, like maintain relationships with your clients. You have to convince them why they should hire you. You have to be creative, and so yeah, in terms of that, like the senior people on my team, they've been in the industry for a long time. They have a lot of knowledge, and they have a lot of contacts, and they have a lot of information. So they are the ones who would really be able to sell the business. And then on top of that, you have the organization that you work at, right? So like I work at a global investment bank. So we can go out there, and our pitch or our sell is and we work on pitches all the time. That's like half our job. When we're not, we have to pitch to win deals to then do them. So I guess I didn't touch upon that as much. But yes, you have to pitch to win business. And we go out there, and we have our whole spiel where we say, like, we are a big investment bank. We have a lot of different people from all around the world who can support you. Therefore, we have all this, knowledge and resources, versus if you hired a smaller bank that didn't have anyone in Japan, you probably wouldn't be able to reach a big investor like SoftBank. So stuff
That's
like
right.
that. And then the interesting thing is I've worked at two different banks, so I've kind of heard the angle and the pitch at two different firms. Like you have different ways of positioning yourself, and there's interesting things you can say about all different scenarios. Like if you're a smaller bank, you can be like, you can say the other story and say like, okay, like we don't have the resources of a big bank, but if you hire us, like we'll be completely focused on you, versus the other banks, they won't have as much time to spend on you. So there's kind of like different, you know, uh, pitches and sells and like stories and positioning that you can do to kind of win business. In addition to kind of like maybe, in addition to kind of just the analysis that you're doing, maybe you just do really good analysis, creative analysis that other people haven't done, and that could also convince them as well.
There's a few questions here. What do you like about investment banking? I think you already talked about it. And what do you not like investment banking?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I like is I do like solving problems. I really like yeah, it's kind of the things that I touched upon. Like I really like it's just so fulfilling when you work on deals that are like 9 to 12 months, that you work on them every single day, doing little things every single day to move along the process, doing so much research. And then finally when the deal is announced to like the public, it's like so cool to be able to like, I worked on that, like I know everything that happened there. um, and then also like the client aspect of it, for myself, like I'm a little bit more senior than if you were to start off as an analyst, but like I work a lot with basically like senior level finance people at the company. I'm like basically calling the CFOs and working with the CFOs like every day. So it's a very surreal opportunity to be able to do that, and to be able to understand how they think about a business. And I learn about that. Like I don't have to and I think that's one of the big draws about investment banking, is that you get to learn so much about a wide range of topics. I work in all sectors, so I get to learn about all sectors. And I've learned right now, like I've worked on tech companies, I've worked on consumer companies, like beverage companies, I worked on like software companies, and like also just like a bunch of stuff. So I just have learned about a lot of different industries that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten the opportunity to. And and yeah, that's kind of like the things that, and then hopefully, you pick a place where you like working with your team. And I love working with my team. They're really smart people and really great people to kind of be with every day. People definitely are looking for, I guess, more social people, because we work a lot of hours, and we like to spend the time. To we like to like the people that we spend a lot of time with.
So you basically had a lot of chance working without, they call it like what, top echelon or top brass people,
Mhm.
very prestigious people, I could say.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like we get direct contact with like even like it depends on the bank that you're working at and like the company that you're working for. But I mean like even the analyst um on my team, like he's gotten to work and speak, like you email and work with the CFOs, the CEOs, and it's such a cool opportunity.
So does that mean actually everybody, I guess, everybody working the investment banking have to look sharp, dress nicely, and you see what I'm saying? It's more like you have to shop on all those top brands, clothing and
Got it. Yeah.
accessories. Is
No,
that
I
true?
mean, yeah, you have to present yourself well. It's a corporate environment.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to like, on a day-to-day basis, if I don't have any meetings, I'm sitting in the office, I don't need to like look like crazy nice, obviously just look professional. But like in meetings, you have to look like yeah, that you have to be taken seriously and look like you kind of know what you're doing.
So you're definitely totally different from the Silicon Valley area, the dress
Yeah, no,
casual,
it's not, we're not showing up in pajamas, that's for sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
Great. And then another question is I think it's easy. Which high school did you go to?
Well, I went to Jasper when I was here, and then when I moved, I went to the town that we moved to only had one high school, so it was that one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So how
I don't know.
flexible is an investment banker's hours?
Um, it
Not
depends.
flexible.
So not particularly flexible. We have a lot of deadlines. The way that it works is like in a deal, let's say you're trying to sell the company. This is kind of like how the process looks like. You start the process and you're like, okay, you want to sell yourself, then you do some analysis on to tell the company how much they're worth. So that takes some time. And then if that matches their expectations, then they're like, okay, like let's go. Then you have to spend some time identifying the buyers. That takes like a week or so. And then you have to there's a lot of communication between your client, right? Because you need to make sure that they agree with everything, right? Like if you are selling your house and you work with a realtor and they're just like taking deals for you that you don't agree with, you would fire the realtor because they wouldn't be doing what you wanted. So there's a lot of communication about like what they want. And then we start putting together materials, which can take unfortunately the timelines, like if it should take like a couple months for you to do all this research about the industry, understand the size of it, how it's growing, the risks, the opportunities, identifying all the peers and how they compare to their peers, if they are better or worse in a certain way, just so you have to understand everything about the business. You have to even understand the shortcomings, things that buyers are going to scrutinize you on, like, oh, like your factory's run down or something, or you don't pay your workers enough. This could be a lawsuit. Like you need to know about all these things. So we really spend a lot of time on what we call diligence. And that could be the preparation phase is usually like 3 months. And then what will happen is once we go out to the market, we start reaching out to a bunch of companies. Let's say we reach out to as few as 1 to 3 to you could be reaching out to 100 if you want to get a really high offer. So then we reach out so then that's why you need a banker, because are you going to have time to talk to 100 buyers? So you're going to talk to a bunch of buyers and try to understand how much they think they'll pay for the business. You have to give them information so they can help identify the value. And then this process takes quite a long time. So it'll probably take like 2 months for the first phase. And then certain people, well, maybe they're not interested enough. They're not willing to pay enough. They're out of the process. Then we keep, a few of the top best buyers, and then we start working more with them. And that's another few months for them to think about if they want to buy the business and just like do more research, have meetings with the company, look at their assets. And then let's say we keep like one main buyer, then there's just like legal negotiations. Sometimes there's a lot of regulatory. So if you're acquiring or buying a business in the exact same industry, the US and other countries have antitrust laws. You can't become too big and you can't become a monopoly. So then the government has to review things, and that takes like 3 months or so. And that's how things end up becoming 9 to 12 months. And the problem is, the thing is, right, like at a bank, as I kind of touched on, like you earn revenue, you earn revenue from closing the deal. So you need to close the deal. Like, let's say you do all this work, but you don't find someone who's willing to buy it. All this work, no revenue. So that's bad for the bank. That's bad for the business. So, people are working hard to try to close deals, and you want to close deals faster. You don't want to be working on projects for, you don't want to be working on projects for 3 years, not earning any
transaction
revenue.
had to be quick.
Yeah, well, as quick as you can. So as I mentioned, like, so we're trying to, we need to meet deadlines to move it along. Otherwise, it could just go forever, and then no revenue. So
Well, one
that's kind of
interesting
how
question.
it goes.
One interesting question, like in TI, I've seen a lot of merge, okay, and acquisition. So
Yeah.
actually some of it is successful, but most of them are failure. So, but
Hmm.
that had nothing to do with your job, Lara. Your job is
Yeah.
just to show them, say, hey, here's the financial result, why it's good now. But as for
Yeah.
how they can make it work, that's their job. Is that true?
Yes, I completely agree. So our job as financial advisors is to help run the process and identify good businesses, but we are not responsible from an operational standpoint to make sure you integrate the business properly. And that's part of the diligence process for the senior management at company to think about. If they want to sell themselves, it's like, well, will we fit in well with this buyer? That those are important considerations as they, you need to meet financial considerations, but you also have to meet like cultural considerations and just other like operational things. So it is
That's
it is
right.
not our responsibility to make sure, but when we are pitching business, of course, we're always pitching that we have to pitch things that work for our clients. So we are thinking about these things beforehand, and we make sure the top people meet each other, that they like each other, that they align, that they have a shared vision, that they have a shared strategy, stuff like that. And then operationally, like basically like the marketing person will talk to the marketing person, right? Like the technology person will talk to the technology person. Like that's for the people at the businesses to kind of manage on their own. But we're facilitating that, and we of course like consider it, but it is not
Let me
our
ask you
operational
a very
responsibility.
interesting question. Like the most popular topic now in the Wall Street is the FTX collapse.
Oh yeah.
What
Yeah.
do you think from your understanding how something can be so messed up and nobody understands it? See, so many investing company investing in it, and those are smart people that are just like you guys, Lara. But how
Mhm.
can they mess up so big?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've done a little bit. I have a little bit of understanding about like the FTX situation. I'm personally not that into crypto, and I'm not like a huge believer or anything, but I'm also not like it's fake. I think there's some kind of like validities to it. I mean, at the end of the day, what happened is that regulation did not catch up to the growth of the business. And what happened is that the cryptocurrency exchange had a subsidiary that was supposed to be completely separate. You're supposed to have a separate entity, but it was owned by the same owner. So what happened is like at one point the other business was short of cash. So because it was owned by the same guy, he self-dealed, which is illegal. You're not supposed to be taking funds from your other business to put into your other business. That's very like circular, right? Like because the customers of A business didn't agree to give money to B business, but B business took it because they both have the same owner, which the consumers, like that's not their problem. So that's unfortunately what happened is that he clearly ran out of funds from his second business, took that from his main business, and then once there was the regulators didn't catch it, and the reason why the regulators didn't catch it is because cryptocurrency really took off during the pandemic. Right, and during the pandemic we were dealing with different problems. So the regulators just hadn't really, like, people were cutting down on staff, and they just didn't. And also, it's a new industry, and anytime there's kind of like new industries, right? People don't understand how things work. So I do think
Accounting,
that
so
it's kind of
accounting
like a
on this
pattern.
kind of
Yeah.
activity can be big mess and nobody can understand.
Yeah, it's challenging, and I will say, like, I'm not that experienced, but I've learned a lot from my senior people, and what they'll say is like that like something like FTX, it's not going to ever stop happening because basically like new industries will evolve and this sort of cycle will repeat itself, unfortunately. So everyone be careful with where you put your money. But because, you know, you saw this, there was a .com bubble, right? And it bust.
That's right.
Right? Like there's like, and it didn't mean that the internet wasn't a good investment and that it wasn't a real technology, but it just means that there will always be bad actors who, you know, are just kind of going along with the trend. And unfortunately, if you're not, you know, being smart about your decisions, and yeah, like, and that's why we have regulation, and it's so important to, you know, kind of protect the consumer and protect our markets and protect just like the general economy. So yeah,
Well,
you know,
that's
I think regulation is definitely increasing for crypto, but people are catching up to understanding it and how to regulate it properly to avoid, you know, really large fiascos like this.
that is a very good point. So if it's not a mature industry, then the
Yeah,
accounting
makes sense.
activity, it's not stable, it's not mature. So there's no way you can
Yeah.
get hands on, say what's going
Yeah,
on.
I mean, I can say like I only started investment banking about like 2-3 years ago, and during the pandemic, I don't know if everyone remembers the term SPACs, like special purpose acquisition companies, and that was a bubble as well. It was a bubble that only lasted 1 year, and it didn't
Oh, that's
really,
right.
yeah, like, you know,
SPAC, yeah.
everyone was starting their own SPACs. Celebrities and famous people are investing in these, saying that they were gonna like find companies and create value for people, and they don't, because it's
That's
just,
right.
yeah. And I would just say, I mean, like in like, I don't know, like this is my personal viewpoint on investing, but like investing is not meant to be easy. And that's why like investment banking is hard. You do a lot of work to understand a company and if it's a good investment. If you know, see these like TikTok videos or like YouTube videos saying that you can make like a quick dollar or something on like a trade, like you probably shouldn't trust that. Like, first of all, are they a financial advisor? And second of all, like it's not supposed to be as easy as just like shorting one stock and you become a millionaire. Like that's not how it works. Like you have to understand fundamentals of a company, and that takes time and research. And you know, I do it for my job, but I actually don't even like the level of analysis that I do for my job. I will admit I don't personally do for my investments. I do a short version of it to validate it, but it's a lot of work, and you have to follow your investments because companies aren't the same over time. So I would say like what's also interesting about the financial industry is it is real. It's always changing. There's always trends and evolutions, right? Like the economy is good, the economy is bad, like different political environments, different industries fall in and out of favor. And you know, wars come and like impact things, pandemics, like all of this stuff touches upon what you do. So it like the work that you do, it changes, and it has definitely like it touches upon real life, and it's really interesting. You know, like when the Fed is making decisions about rates, that impacts our clients, impacts our deals, impacts financing. So that is just one of the reasons why you learn so much from this job, because you have to think about so much to make the work and the deals happen.
Basically, the Wall Street in New York is pretty much we can call the mainstream traditional conventional financial system. Then you have this kind of people are like more playing monopoly, SPAC, and this. So they just make their own monopoly game. If you want to play in that game, you play. But if you want to be in the mainstream, conventional, traditional financial system, you should be joined this one, Dara.
Yeah, I guess I can speak on that like a little bit. So in terms of, you know, especially you talked about cryptocurrency and basically like blockchain and all of that, and the opportunity for it to disrupt the industry and basically like take away like the old of like the bank. And like people can always comment and say that we don't add any value to society, but like this is not true, and I don't believe that, otherwise I wouldn't do the job that I do. You know, like how would companies like yes, like sometimes like deals don't work out, but once again, like that's not like all the analysis that we do is try to create successful deals and like help businesses like succeed in their environment. Like some of the solutions that we're coming up with is like these industrial companies, these like automotive companies, we help them get financing so that they can do projects and invest in electric vehicles. I've worked on electric vehicle deals, and I've learned about the EV market, and you help make investments in new technologies. You also, are responsible. Like, how else would companies kind of like survive and like do all of this? It's part of our economy, and it's also part of why we are very successful as a country. So I think it's a very important part.
One interesting question. So working this mainstream of the Wall Street, it's, it's everybody a lot of adrenaline and talk quick and walk quick, running like crazy. Is that true?
Um, I don't know if that's everyone, but that is me.
Well, I think because everything's so intense there, and you have to work long hours, that means you have to be extremely efficient and productive there.
Yeah, you do have to
And
be very
almost make
efficient.
sure your adrenaline has to pump up and it's hard to stay very calm. Say, no, 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 don't worry. It's impossible. They're not. Is that true?
I don't think that's like completely true. I mean, yeah, like when we have a lot of things to do, of course, you need to kind of, manage that accordingly. But, like I'm not just like, people aren't just like hopped up when there's nothing to do. We love to relax as well, especially after all the work that you do. It's great to, everyone needs a vacation, everyone needs a break. Like in our industry, we know it, we work a lot, but it's not sustainable to do it forever. So like, of course, we strike a balance of like, okay, like you work really hard now, but we respect, like I think the work-life balance in the industry is definitely doing a lot better, like protected Saturdays, like stuff like that. Like
Oh,
really,
okay.
at least at my firm, we have a very good culture of respecting people's like time off and vacations and stuff like that. But yeah.
Well, you get travel to like 25 plus countries. Most of them
Yeah.
are business related or is actually
No,
leisure.
no, they're all personal. I don't think, like I've only like, yeah, I haven't really traveled like anywhere crazy for work. Yeah.
So it's all business related, I get right?
No, no, it's not. It's
No, it's
not
all
business
for
related.
leisure yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome,
The hobby.
awesome. So actually you have a lot of not a lot of, you can have enough vacation for you to travel different countries. In how many
Some of
years?
it,
25
was
countries,
some
how
of it
many
was
years?
also when I was in college. So it was before I
Oh,
started
okay.
working. But also, yeah, like I've definitely still kept it up and try to go somewhere, go places on
Awesome,
vacation
awesome.
as well.
So that's good to be I think in the investment banking there, right? You at
Hmm.
least you have time to travel and then you have money to travel, I guess. Because that takes money to go to other foreign countries. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, I don't know if anyone on the line maybe like had any questions that they wanted to ask, but
Yeah. Any use have any
happy to
questions?
take
We only
them.
have 5 minutes left. Uh,
Exactly.
it's amazing to see you, the little girl shy and not talk too much, become an investment banking lady, and in the mainstream of Wall Street. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's quite, yeah, I will say, I mean, like, I think this could definitely just kind of show you like people change and like a lot over like 10 years over your
Oh, it's
career,
so
how
amazing.
a lot of your experiences and in college and your work experience will kind of like end up shaping who you are, and you keep changing and you keep evolving, and there's more things to do. Like this
Praise the
probably isn't going to
Lord.
be the
Praise the
only
Lord.
thing that I do. So yeah.
It's so fun to watch you all grow. Yeah, so fun. Anybody have any other questions? Otherwise, we just going to end it. Yeah. Okay, then let's say the closing prayer together. Oh, dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this Jennifer sharing. We all learned so much about the investment banking, and we can really feel the life about an investment banker from Jennifer's experience. I hope that her sharing can really impact some youth choice to be a banker or any financial investment related job in the future. I hope help them to find their passion, find a match. We all know is this capitalistic world, so it's important to know how the money flow and how the big deal is working. And even as a Christian, it's very good to be at that level, so you can help a lot of people, impact a lot of people, and the money eventually is used for helping the others. It's not to destroy the others. So, dear Lord, we thank you for all the sharing and everybody's attendance. We hope you continue bless all of us in the next week and have a good holiday. We say the prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you for sharing. This is awesome.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you
how
for
many
having
years
me.
you been investment banking?
So, I guess like to clarify, like investment banking is big. You have like a couple different aspects in it. I used to work in capital markets, which is within investment banking, where you focus just on selling, helping companies sell their debt into the market. So basically,
Oh,
like
yeah.
they raise debt, like that way they can get money from investors to run their business.
That's right.
Just kind of like the way you would think about getting like, let's say you're a small business, you want a loan. Let's like think about people at Shark Tank who are like trying to get money for their business. It's the same thing, except they just go out to they're much bigger and they go out to yeah, like bigger investors with bigger paychecks. So we would help them do that. And I got exposure to a lot of different corporate companies in the US, basically. Like I worked with almost like every large corporate in the US, and you get a really good understanding for the market. And then
You
yeah,
see
so I did that
the
for a little
you
bit.
see the economic downturn now from your level.
I mean, I will just to be like completely honest, like yes, there are layoffs just kind of like there are anywhere else, but I think it's just kind of it's mostly impacting people. Banks like aren't trying to like reduce good talent, and I think that's kind of the case anywhere. Like unfortunately, just like in these times, the first people to go are the ones who are not performing or not kind of like meeting
So
their
you're part
expectations.
also.
But people who are doing well and are
That's right.
contributing to positively to like revenue and things like that, like they will the firm usually values them and wants them to stay. But it is actually an impact on deal flow as well. When the market is not as strong, not as stable, companies are hesitant to do deals. They want to wait until things are
That's
better.
right. That's right.
It's just kind of like you don't want to sell your company when valuations aren't as high. You won't get as much money. So it is a little bit tough. We have to do we have to do a stronger job of convincing people. We also have to,
Okay.
we have to convince people, maybe that this is the right environment to do it, or that, like it might be years before they can come across this again. So there's, in terms of like, the work, like even when the market is bad, like that's actually when clients need you the most, because they have more, like they're confused about what to do. It's not just all good. It's not all easy. And they really rely on your guidance and your help to kind of get through it. So, the good thing is our senior bankers have done this for a long time. They've seen many cycles, and they're able to, reassure the clients like how they'll get through it, and that we'll come out of it. And like that's what I would say as well. Like, for someone like, obviously you have seen a lot more, but like I'm more junior, and I've gotten the benefit of kind of living through only just a booming economy. So like it is, recessions like happen in like whether it's small or large ways, and and it will correct itself.
So you do see the temperature drop a little bit, and the money is not as abundant as fluent used to be.
Yeah, it does. Like liquidity is a little bit lower right now. It is definitely harder to raise. Like if you want to go out and get debt and get that's tougher. If you want to go out and IPO yourself, it's tougher. And also like people, like if you think about it, right now is basically a correction of the tech industry, which had really inflated valuations because the environment was just so favorable that they were the best investment because it was so high growth. But so now their valuations are coming down, and it's tough because they're a big component of basically our equity, like our equity indexes. So that's why you see that falling every day, or
So
not every day.
what's your plan for your career future, long-term plan? Or what's the vision for?
Yeah, I mean, I like one of the I think I mentioned this earlier, but one of the reasons, probably one of the biggest reasons why people do this job is for the exit opportunities, and myself included. So, you do this job because you don't know what you for sure want to do in the future, but you get a good foundation, you learn a lot, and you can basically take that with you to a lot. It opens a lot of doors. So if you
Okay.
do want to go on and be an investor, you can. You can go to private equity. You can go work at an asset management company. Hedge fund is a little different. And then you could also go work at a corporate company to find better work-life balance.
I got it.
And then you do a similar sort of job, but like you analyze deals, but you just work internally. A lot of people actually go and start their own businesses. It's very interesting. And they have the skill set to do so. So that's really interesting. And some people just exit the industry entirely because it wasn't for them. But even if you try it and you don't, and you end up doing something completely different, usually people see that on your resume and they're automatically like, wow, investment banking, like you automatically have this brand of like, they associate you with working very hard. You are very knowledgeable, that you're very capable. So these are kind of really great things that are attached to working in a role like this, and just being able to kind of do whatever you want in the future. I don't know, I think for myself, I probably plan to work on the corporate side of things, and want to work for a company and help them assess deals and help them grow, like maybe like business development. So I think that would be really interesting.
You like that kind of position? Like you're senior manager or senior banker, got a very good relationship with all of the CEO, CFO, the top brass of the economy.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's really interesting, like, to think about strategy and all of that. So like, definitely, like, I could see myself in a strategy role and an operational role. I personally don't plan to probably go into an investing role just because it is so similar to what I've already done. But I'll probably work more on the corporate side of things.
Oh, yeah. So so your job actually is a pretty good, what we call pressure cooker environment. If you if you survive it, you can be a very versatile, very competent person, do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think it teaches you a lot about yourself and kind of what you can handle. And like, if you don't operate well under stress, you should definitely not do this, because it's a very stressful environment. If you don't like kind of like being like pressured to do things, if you don't like kind of working very quickly or doing a lot of things at once, if you kind of want to have a more like leisurely job, like this is not it. But it's kind of just like what you put into it. Like, we put in a lot, but you do get a lot out of it as well. So that's the good part.
Do you see a lot of people actually exit this business environment because too much pressure?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people do it and they realize it's not for them.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But most
really
people like it. But most people know, like, most people don't go into it like not knowing that's a risk. Like, I think it's okay for people to try things and realize it's not for them.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. Thank you very much. So how many days vacation do you have every year?
I get like 20 and then like unlimited sick days or whatever. Yeah. And then you get like then you get some personal days as well. I mean, I'm like a associate. I think like maybe analysts get slightly less, and then as you become more senior, you get more days. So yeah.
So are you coming back to Plano in the holiday time?
Yeah, I'm coming back over Christmas. Yeah, always do.
Excellent. Not Thanksgiving, just Christmas?
Yeah, no, I will be here. I came back over Labor Day, so that was kind of recent.
All right, hope to see you. Come back to Plano.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
talking to you.
Hope to see you as well.
You're growing a very beautiful, elegant lady now. Excellent. Awesome.
Thank you. I hope it was helpful for people.
Excellent. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for spending time sharing with us.
Right.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Everybody, bye-bye.
Bye.